Good morning, two gentlemen out here in the audience here. I'm going to call this meeting to order today. This is a special called meeting of the Commissioners Court of Hood County. Today is Tuesday, August the 20th. It's 9 a.m. and we're in the central jury room of the Ralph H. Walton Jr. Justice Center at 1200 West Pearl Street in Granbury, Texas. We have with us our chaplain for the Hood County Commissioners Court, the Honorable Pastor Mike McMahon.
As unaccustomed as I am to speaking a large crowd, I hope you all will put up with me in this. Father, thank you for the way you love us. Thank you for the provision that you made for each one of us. And as we walk this morning, help us to walk in your footsteps, thinking in your thoughts, voting on what you want done, and doing it with love and with appreciation for the fact that we live in a free country. Thank you now. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Floor is yours, Miss Welburn here. Got Daniel and Brian with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is Brian right here. So I'm Daniel Anderson. I was here last time. I work with Income Insurance, and this is Brian Stahl right here. Sorry. Better. My bad. Yeah. Just to give you a little background on us, we grew up together, and so across the road from each other, out in Franklin, Texas, if you know where that is. Probably not. But anyway, I graduated from You do. That's right.
Our family in-laws there.
Yes, ma'am. I actually played ball and graduated from Tarleton, so they're right down the road here. So I lived there for 3 years. But we've been partners in the business for 19, 20 years now. So we've been all over the place. That gives you just a little bit about us. But we're excited to show you what we've got. We've got some pretty unique options for you to look at. May take a little time to run through. Please feel free to ask as many questions as possible. We'll do the best job we can to make you feel comfortable so y'all can make the best, most educated decision for the county and its employees. But there are two really, really nice options to look at. Really three, but two that are really, really nice, okay? So let me see if I can plug this in and shoot this up there real fast. See if this will work. Look at there, maybe. Maybe not. No. Wait. There it is.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So I'll skip on over to slide 3. This is just the quote details that we kind of show where we went and what we received. Just a brief summary for each one of y'all to have, so we can talk about that just a little bit. Aetna declined to quote because their network's not competitive here. Blue Cross Blue Shield, y'all are with TAC, so Blue Cross Blue Shield Direct wouldn't bid since you're with TAC already. If you decide to, something that you need to know, that if you decide after today to come out of TAC, next year Blue Cross Blue Shield would bid you direct, okay, that they wouldn't do right now with the TAC and Blue Cross relationship, okay. Cigna, we did receive a bid from them. It was decently competitive, but not as one of the better options, so we just put them as non-competitive. Nonstop Health, we're going to show you. Scott & White DTQ'd. It's not competitive. United Healthcare, we have a really nice quote from them. And Curative, we have a really nice quote from them. So we're going to walk you through those options, and we'll answer any questions and show you kind of how these benefits and how these plans look like compared to what you have. But again, feel free to stop us at any point if something doesn't make any sense, or you know, we do this every day, so if we're talking too fast or something, we go over that, say, hey, just can you break that down for me? We'd be happy to do that, okay? All right, let's start with this very first page here. So, have y'all heard of Curative yet? Has anybody heard of Curative? Just to give you a little bit of background on Curative, they're a new carrier in the market the last few years. They actually invented the rapid COVID test, back when COVID started. And so that's where they came about and how their funding came about. And they created this plan, I guess, how many years ago, Brian? Now, 3? Two or 3 years ago. Just to give you a little bit of background on them, ANCO, our broker, where we work, are actually on Curative right now currently, have been on there since the first of the year. And we've probably moved 50 to 60 clients, 4,000 to 5,000 employees over there over the last 12 months. Just, it's part of our group, just to kind of let you know what we've done with them. They came out with a really, really aggressive quote. They kind of believe a little differently than the other national or standard carriers that y'all are familiar with. So on the left, you can see that you've got your Blue Cross, Blue Shield, your TAC, current plan design, and renewal down there. You can see your current rates are at, on the very left, are 816.16, and you can see where the renewal is at 865.12. That's for the exact same benefit and plan design that you have now, okay? That was there and generated from the beginning before we started into this, right? And so does anybody have any, y'all understand your current plan and everything with it right now currently, right? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so if you look to the right, we're going to start with Curative, and then they have 2 different options we're going to show you, and then we'll go over to some other options after that. And please stop me if I go over things. So Curative, they do things uniquely. They believe that if you don't have to pay anything, that people will go to the doctor for their minor stuff and they go more often, that you'll actually avoid shock claims and larger claims and that kind of stuff to try to control cost over a longer period of time. That is what they believe. So that's the way their plan designs work, okay? See, if you look up there, if you look under proposed, we'll start with the first line item there. It's basically one plan for everybody, okay? And this is their PPO network. What you do is they ask everybody to get a baseline visit. And what that is just a Zoom visit. It's 30 to 40 minutes with their concierge team. That's a health person that you'll work with. I've done it, Brian's done it, everybody at our office does it. And you work with them throughout your time with Curative. And once you do that, it doesn't matter if health risk, it doesn't matter what you have, it doesn't matter. They just try to do everything they can to help you navigate cost. They put everybody from a $5,000 deductible onto a zero deductible, zero out-of-pocket plan for the year, okay? And so that particular plan is zero deductible, zero out-of-pocket for everything except for non-preferred specialty medications, where a drug formulary status might fall into that. There is a $50 or $250 copay, but everything else for that plan is zero deductible, zero out-of-pocket, and they basically came in at your current rates right now underneath the renewal, okay?
So just for clarification.
Yes, sir.
You're saying that the column on the left with the baseline visit is to sit down with that concierge, go through that process or whatever there, and that puts you on that track.
Yes, sir.
Those that don't have that meeting or whatever, then you're back to the.
That is correct.
Deductible and the, okay.
Yeah, and
Just making sure we're real clear on
that is perfectly right. You have 120 days to do it, okay? They have a 98% success rate. Hill County, I will tell you, has just moved over to Curative, just to give you a little idea on that. We've been there, and there's a bunch of people over there now. But, it's really easy. It's 30 to 45 minutes. I'll say 45 minutes top for somebody who really likes to talk a lot to a doctor or concierge, somebody that just walks through and does what they ask. It's about 30 minutes, okay? But they're wonderful, and they do a really good job. They help navigate prescriptions and where to go and what to do, and they want to know about you and how to improve whatever they can, their service for you, okay?
So an employee could always contact this physician, even though they're not their physician, and ask questions about
yes.
the plan, or if they need help, maybe getting that certain drug approved.
Yes, ma'am.
That's who they could utilize.
Well, they'll utilize them, yes, they can utilize them at any time. They'll have their direct contact at any time, but they also have us to help navigate with them as well, and our internal account team that you'll have access to all the time, okay? And so, but as far as strict benefit design for the rates, they basically you'll have a $5,000 deductible with a really high out-of-pocket to a zero deductible and zero out-of-pocket for your employees. I can tell you, like for me, my son had Tommy John surgery this year. He tore his elbow up, actually in Glen Rose here pitching. He's 16 years old, so that surgery didn't cost me $1. nothing. X-ray, surgery, nothing. All the prescriptions for this year, mine and my wife's, all my kids, have not cost me $1. Okay, and we own this exact plan. Yes, ma'am.
Does a certain percentage of employees in the county have to have that baseline in order to do that? Like, to
It's
do that, or
individually,
just
it's just per individual, yes, ma'am. And it's not only anybody 18 and over. If you're 18, it doesn't, you don't have to do the visit, okay?
So the cost shift really, because the premium's the same, the cost shift based on the non-compliant or the compliant is, the cost shift is to the employee.
Yes, ma'am. It's probably, estimated use is probably $1 million in savings out of pocket for the employees over the year. That's probably the estimated savings in usage.
That if they choose not to do the Zoom visit, they're choosing to cost themselves more money.
That's correct.
Not the
It doesn't have anything to do.
compensation stays the same.
That's right. Doesn't have anything to do with the county. That's correct, on their cost. And they do this, and we've met with their owner and CEO and looked at their financials, and they look really good. It's trending in the way they expect. Now, we'll see what that looks like 5 years from now, but it's doing really well, and it's done really well for a lot of clients, and we have a lot of people that's really happy. Okay.
Does any county have this plan?
Hill County.
Hill County just moved to this plan. Now, I don't know if y'all work with PB&H. They have this plan too. Auditors company, they work with a lot of counties too. They're one of our clients, and they have them too.
How many employees does Hill County have?
Probably enrolled, 220 enrolled. They got a little more than that, maybe 240.
PB&H is pretty small.
Ma'am?
The auditing firm?
They have 130 employees.
130. But we've got I think we've got a school district for, what have we got, like 900 employees?
Right.
900.
We have 170 at ANCO that are spread out throughout the state, because we have remote workers, right? So we got people in Lubbock, we got people in Livingston, we got throughout the state of Texas. And we also have some multi-state companies that move to Curative too. So in that care navigator that we kind of talked about on that Zoom call, they're with you forever. So during Thanksgiving or Christmas, we decided to go to Colorado to visit Kim folks. You get the flu while you're there. Pick up the phone, call your care navigator and say, I'm in Denver, Colorado. Where can I go to the doctor? And they'll tell you right down the street, you can go see that doctor and pay nothing to see him. I've been in the business, like Daniel mentioned, we've been doing this a long time, and I've never told anyone to call the number on the back of the card before, ever. But with Curative, I do. I say, call that number on the back of your card and talk to your care navigator and get where you need to be, get you taken care of. They're a big help. They change kind of what we think about things, right? Because we're so used to just, I'm sick, run in the emergency room, or I'm sick. They have an idea when you get on that phone and start talking to them, they really want you to think about it. And I was on that Zoom call, like you mentioned. They have all kinds of different things there, like weight loss. They ask questions about that. If you're considering, they have a program with HEB that you can go, they can walk around HEB with you and pick out food for you to eat. So, it's really a cool plan. I'm a big fan of it. I have clients that would call you tomorrow and say, your employees would be extremely happy with it. But we have it, our employees, just like Daniel mentioned earlier, his boy, we have a lady that works for us that just had a baby, and it was in NICU. She paid nothing. It's huge for a family starting out to have a baby and have to pay nothing on that, because most of the time they'd have to make payments, right? They'd have to get a loan set up to make payments for this, especially if they went to the NICU, because then that falls under the different deductible, a family deductible. Everything is so expensive these days with scripts. Food's high, fuel's high. The first thing we stop doing is taking our prescriptions. I can't tell what it's doing. I'm stopping that. I need to eat first, right? I got to get fuel from our car. So it's a very unique offering that they have that I'm passionate about it because I see how it helps employees and employer groups.
But
What about is there an in-network, out-of-network doctors, or just pick whatever doctor you want? Or?
there is a network, yes, ma'am. It's First Health Network. It's one of Aetna's original PPO networks that they use, and it's a really large national network.
So how would we know how to compare that with, because one of the things that people worry about with changing healthcare plans is
Yep.
that their doctor, they're not going to be able to use their same doctor. How can we compare that?
Yes, ma'am. So we don't, I mean, it would be hard for us right now because we don't have every doctor that everybody at the county uses everywhere, right, to know. But like,
Compared to the Blue Cross.
in general, I will say Blue Cross, Wichita and Blue Cross are different, but Blue Cross's network is going to be the largest network there is. We're going to show you Curative's network and then United Healthcare's network. United Healthcare is about 95% of what Blue Cross is. And I would say Curative is in the 90s, somewhere around that range, as far as the same network. Could there be a random specialist that's not in network? Absolutely. That doesn't matter where you go, one way or the other, okay?
Typically, when you go into the larger cities, most of them are in network with Curative or First Health, either one. But when we go see a specialist, I'm sure we may stay here, but some of us travel. So you start getting the metropolitan area, then there's a big network there too.
Is it possible if you discover your current primary health care doctor is not in the network, that that doctor could be approved?
Oh, yes, ma'am, absolutely.
So what Curative does on that scenario is within 90 to 120 days, they'll try to get that doctor in network. They'll reach out to them to get them in Curative's network.
Is that based on the baseline visit, or just
Just in general.
us
like if-
calling maybe?
No, if you let us know that we find out that this doctor's not in network, we ping Curative and they reach out straight and make contact with those
Okay.
doctors. And within 90 to 120 days, typically they have them pretty quick. So they're open to that, very open to that.
And this, just get me wrong, this list, I mean, we're telling you all the good and stuff about this, but this is just the first option. There's another really, really nice option on the table too that may be easier transition than this, okay, that we'll talk about next, okay?
Just for clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
Because this is one of the things I noticed last night.
Mm-hmm.
On the Blue Cross Blue Shield, down at the bottom left, the employee and spouse says 1460. On another page, it says 1430.
Okay.
And a minute ago, you said that this was based the same, premium, and it's listed under Curative as 1430. So is it 1430 or 1460 under Blue Cross Blue Shield?
It's 1460 under Blue Cross currently. It's,
Okay, so then your other page is not correct.
yes, ma'am.
Well, unless you have a different one, they're both 1460 on Blue Cross.
Which one are you looking at?
This page has.
Oh, that one there.
1430.
I don't want to hit the screen. I don't have one of those in front of me.
Oh, yeah.
So all those percentages are wrong then, because it's based on the total of using 1430 instead of 1460.
Right, so that'll be more in the favor of the nonstop premium.
Yeah, so it would be better.
I mean, that's a little more, because it would help the percentage out there for sure.
So, back to Curative, just so we can finish up Curative here. They did offer a $30,000 transition credit on top of this. So what they would do is just give y'all an invoice credit on your first or second invoice and just a straight $30,000 credit towards the county, okay? Now, with the with the pharmacy, I would say this is the only thing that would probably be a little bit of a transition for folks when it comes to Curative would be the pharmacy, okay? Curative, if you have an HEB within 15 miles of where you live, HEB is their primary pharmacy, okay? So that's something that's different than what you're used to. And they have same-day delivery or after 3 within 24-hour home delivery for mail-order drugs. Now, if you live outside of that 15 miles, it opens up into a larger pharmacy network for those people that live outside of 15 miles outside of HEB. They use that to control cost and provide these kind of benefits, right? Because, for example, if TAC were to offer you a zero deductible, zero out-of-pocket plan, you're probably looking at a 50 to 60% increase in rate to be able to pay for that exact kind of plan. That's the difference of what we're talking about, right? Not counting out-of-pocket savings for the employees, just strictly in the underwritten rates. Does that make sense to everybody? Because it's about that big of an increase in benefit design. So that's Curative. Does anybody have any questions about the pharmacy piece on that? Is that pretty clear?
Well, there's no mail order.
There is mail order. That's same day or 24-hour. Yes, and they own their own pharmacy.
And you didn't really go over the 2-year rate at all.
So the 2-year rate, we asked Curative, because we were at your current rates and your renewals at 865, we asked them if they would give us a 2-year rate guarantee, and they did, and their rate for the 2-year rate guarantee is at 848.81, so that would lock you in for 24 months. And the first plan is 12 months.
So from my calculations is that the first column, the proposed 1 year, saves $5,400 over the current year and saves $202,966 over the renewal that Blue Cross Blue Shield is provided. The 2 years, $129,000 more than what we paid last year or the year we're in, but saves $67,628 over the renewal that Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering. Is that?
Yes, ma'am, that sounds pretty accurate. And I can do that real fast. You just use the employee-only rate, is what you're using,
No, I
right?
use the
Your-
3,500,000.
then your annual,
I use
okay.
the total cost to the county.
Because the county is only paying for the employee-only rate, correct?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
So for actual county savings, I would probably just use the employee-only numbers times the 308 or 309, what we used.
Okay.
So unless the enrollment's higher, so what I would do is just take, I mean, for Plan 1, they're matching current rates, but if you do the 865.12 minus the 816.
Well, I'm not sure that's accurate, because say that I'm an employee and children, the county still pays the employee portion.
Right.
Is
Well,
that
I'm-
included in the,
Yes, ma'am. So if the full rates are there, so you would, like when you do your rate calculations for enrollment, y'all pay the 100% of the employee only. We would back that out of those other rates. The employees would never see that, right?
right?
Right. This is just for clarification. These are the full rates for all 4 tiers.
I guess when we get down to it, we just need to know the bottom line of what the annual cost is for the county compared to last year, or the renewal. And if that's, I thought that's what this 3,518,000.
Well, that would be the total for the entire enrollment. In other words, that includes dependent, spouse, and family. So if we took, basically, we could take, if for the 2-year rate guarantee, I can do it for you real fast.
Well, are we deciding today?
Let's just say 309, that's 5,000 a
We
month
We do
times.
need to decide today.
Then
Six-
we need the
six-
math.
For the 2-year rate guarantee, for the county, it's about a $60,477 savings versus renewal, to have that 2-year rate guarantee. And if we do,
So how he's, just FYI, how he's figuring this, right? The figuring at the bottom here, so it takes this 5 times the family, the 50 times the children, the 15 times the spouse.
Right.
And calculates it.
Right.
County's only paying for the employee only. So
So-
you take those numbers out together, that equals 308
Right.
employees.
Mm-hmm.
Then you times that by that 816 rate. So that's how much the county's actually spending per month. So the
So-
employees,
Yeah, so you can't take 238 times the 848. You have to do 308 times 848.
Correct.
correct.
yes, ma'am. So like for the proposed, the first plan, the 1-year rate guarantee, it's about $180,956 based on current enrollment. Obviously, the more people that enrolled over that 308, that savings is greater, right? But based on the 308 that we use, it's $180,000 savings versus renewal with TAC for the first plan, and 60-something thousand for the 2-year rate guarantee. But that is not counting the $30,000 in transition credit that you would have to add to that, right? So that puts it at the $210,000 or $90,000 for either one. And then that doesn't assume the estimated $1 million in out-of-pocket is saving all the employees.
And the HRA, I mean, and the
Oh,
reimbursement.
well, that's right. So that y'all are also spending an additional close to $75,000 in money reimbursements. So you'd have to add that into it too. Okay? So technically that, if you break that $75,000 into 308, you're going to get about roughly $20 a head. So it's about $885 rate at renewal. So,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry, I'm a numbers person, and I'm not comfortable with you just throwing out numbers without us having the numbers. That this is important
I asked.
to the county,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Because we need to decide today, and this is going to impact our budget.
Absolutely.
So if we don't know, we're going to have to sit here and on the fly calculate, okay, it's $251,000 times 12 months is $3,016,527. That's for the curative. Well, we're going to have to do that for all of these plans, for all the options. I thought you would have had that for us today.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, they're all way better than what you got, nowhere close.
But we have to pick one.
No, I
and we don't-
understand, and I'm gonna do everything I can to explain it to you. But, and I can do the math for you immediately based on, you just want to know the county's portion savings, right? That's what you're asking?
Well, in addition to how it's going to impact the employees, yes. But for budget purposes, we need to know the impact to the budget. We
Mm-hmm. Yes,
need to be
ma'am.
able to choose which one is best for the employees and best for how that's going to impact the budget. And doing numbers on the fly, I'm not comfortable with.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I'm a numbers person.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. I completely get it. I'm the same way. And so, as soon as we get through explaining all this, I can probably spend a few minutes and walk you through it individually and make sure you're comfortable with it, if
It
that's
needs to
okay.
be on paper.
I can put it on paper, yes, ma'am. So, either way, and I understand exactly what she's saying, and I appreciate the comments. So if we're at 865 renewal, we have savings, substantial savings either way, and substantial benefit increase. We just need to get to the number so everybody feels comfortable with exactly what that number is. Always remember that number can change based on actual enrollment or non-enrollment, right? So whatever that employee-only rate, it is that rate. If we enrolled 320 versus 308 at enrollment, that number would grow in savings, but it'd also grow in budget costs because there's more people. Does that make sense? But that would do the same thing with your TAC plan versus your curative plan versus, no matter which plan you went with, okay? So you can get as close as you want to get to what you think the enrollment's going to be, and that's, if you're budgeting to the dollar, it's as best you're going to get, okay? And we can get as close as we think it's going to enroll based on everybody here that's been doing this for a long time, okay? So does everybody have any questions about the curative plan design and how it works and that kind of stuff right now?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so say we elect this curative plan, and someone has every intention of doing that baseline meeting, but they don't. Are they going to be then notified, okay, you did not meet this zero deductible plan, you will now fall into this 5,000, 10,000 deductible for individual family?
Yes, ma'am. And not only that, we'll get a list of who hasn't completed it as the time goes on over that 120 days, and we'll be sending out notices the whole time, trying to make sure everybody gets it done and communicating with HR staff and the county to make sure that they know these people haven't done it. We got to get them to do it.
Okay, so you mentioned anyone over the age of 18. So say I have my whole family. So my husband and I would both have to do this baseline in order for both of us to qualify.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
if you have a house divided? Oh, the husband forgot to do it, whatever.
The husband, then the husband.
He would be on his own?
Yes,
On
ma'am.
that, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
My next question, which we haven't discussed yet, HSA, FSA, are these eligible for those?
No, ma'am. Not, well, the FSA is totally separate, but the HSA is not an HSA qualified plan.
Because it's a zero deductible?
Yes, ma'am.
But the FSA, we can still pair together? with
Yes,
it?
ma'am.
Yep.
Okay.
Great questions. Thank you.
And like you said, we'll pull a report, and that report will show who's completed it, who's scheduled it, and who hadn't even done it, or even hadn't scheduled it yet. And we'll do that on a monthly basis just to make sure. And something else to that point, let's say house divided, let's say the spouse will say, I'm not doing it. Well, he or she had surgery in December. Well, they didn't pay anything for that surgery, right? Because it's within the first 120 days. They don't backdate it and make them pay it. They just, at 121, they go to the $5,000 deductible plan. So they got 120 days to get all of it they can get until they complete it, then they want to do it. If they fail to, then that's what it would change.
All right.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So what kind of stuff do they cover in this Zoom meeting? I mean, can you give me an example of,
I mean, they're gonna walk, they'll ask you all your normal personal information, just walk you through, and then they'll wanna walk through your health options, what you have, prescriptions you take, anything else going on, any upcoming surgeries or not, or what you're doing, or what you plan, what pharmacy do you use, where do you go to the doctor? Just a lot of just different questions like that, and it's like a concierge service, right? So they're just trying to learn about you and educate themselves on how to prepare you. It doesn't do anything to the plan or the rates. It's just the way that they have designed this to try to get everybody to this zero deductible and try to improve they're doing everything they can to try to improve health costs, like they have a service called Galleria that they will include in this, that they give cancer blood tests starting at age 50 and no cost, right? And they do that to try to catch stage 1 cancers. And they have financials that back up how many stage 1 cancers they've caught with this blood test, right? And they're doing everything they can to try to prevent large claims, not reactive. Does that make sense? To react after it's already, somebody doesn't want to go to the doctor because it costs too much, and now we found out it's stage 4 cancer and there's nothing we can do about it. That's just the way that they believe, and they're trying to make that model work. Okay?
And if you're one of those guys or gals, and you're talking to your care navigator and asking you questions, yes, no, 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 okay, thank you, and then you talk to the doctor, and then, what about this? No, yes, no. I mean, you can be as blunt and short as you want to, or you can talk away. They just want to know if you're, let's say I'm one of those on the plan and I have cancer. Because everybody says, well, if I get cancer, they're going to do something different. The point of it is, do you feel like you're getting the quality of care that you need, right? Do you feel like you're going to the doctor, they take care of you? Oh yeah, I love it. Great, continue to go there. Well, I'm not real sure about this gal or girl I'm seeing. Well, you can go see this other person if you want to. It just gets you thinking outside the box, you know. And we're taking scripts. They may ask you a question, and Lipitor is the first thing that came to mind. That's a very common script. But let's say you're taking Lipitor, and this is a made-up scenario. Let's say it's a $50 copay for that drug. Well, they may say, have you ever considered this script? Well, no, because my doctor gave me this one, that's why I take it. Well, next time you go and talk to your doctor, ask him about this other one. You may pay nothing for it. And it kind of gets us thinking, because a lot of us are taking scripts because our doctors gave them to us. We didn't do any kind of research, we're not supposed to, because that's what your doctor's there for. But there, no matter what illness you have, there is a zero copay for a script. So if I have cancer, there is a $0 copay for a cancer script on that Incuratus plan. So it's a big savings when it comes to that too. So the Care Navigator, I have the city of Fairfield, and I don't know where the city of Fairfield is either. But I have a gentleman, I walked in there one day, I said, how you liking the plan? He says, great. I just called my girl up. Well, his girl's a Care Navigator person. He's talking about his girl. She tells me where I can go, don't pay nothing. So he's so tickled because his whole family's on it. And it was substantial for them because he could just pick it up. They call and say, you need to go see this person, go see them, doesn't cost you anything. So that's really big because there's so much of us that travel and do things and you never think about it until it's too late. And then you just call them up, say, you gotta go over here, pay nothing. So, but I kind of got off on the tangent with your question there. Because again, I feel passionate about it just because I see how it works.
Any other questions? And then we'll move over to the next option. No? All right. All right. So we did what we did on this page is we kind of we're going to show you a couple different options. So United Healthcare's plan is not exactly, it's as close as we could get based on their plan models to what you have with TAC currently. If you look at your current, we did your current renewal just like it is on the first page beside this one. If you look on the right side of it, you've got United Healthcare, a plan that's similar to what you've got now, except the out-of-pocket's a little lower. And you can see where that rate is. That's without any kind of extra stuff. It's just a $5,000 deductible, 80% to $7,150 out of pocket. You can see your primary specialist urgent copays in that column there, $10 for primary, $80 for specialist, $25 for urgent care. And then you come down, you can see the rates at $746.97. We showed you one other plan right beside that. That's another $5,000 deductible, $8,150 out of pocket. $15 primary care copay, $100 specialist, and $25 urgent care. And then underneath that, your retail pharmacies, $20, $50, $85. You can see that rate's at $677.40. So United Healthcare's plan, similar to what you have, is not exact because of different copays and so forth, but the price point is substantially less than where your TAC renewal is, okay? And then if you look to the far right, I want to show you a plan that we put together to try to match what Curative's doing, but you not have to use Curative's network. You get to use United Healthcare's open access network, and we pair something called Nonstop Health, which I'll break it down on another slide. But that is, the plan on the far right is United Healthcare's plan plus a Nonstop Health plan So what Nonstop Health does is they load a Visa card with the full out-of-pocket maximum for each individual, dependent or family, and they load that, and then you combine the two plans together to get an underwritten rate, okay? And I'll break it out on the next slide, but right now that rate on that far right is $8.45, and right before we walked in here, we were able to get $10 more off the employee-only rate of the United Healthcare plan. So really, that rate's at $8.35, but that happened literally as we were walking in the door, okay? So we're not able to update the spreadsheet on that yet. So that plan is at $8.35, and the other tiers are going to be what they're going to be. But that plan gives you a United Healthcare open access PPO network with a loaded Visa card that's medically coded for anybody that would allow to cover their complete deductible and their out-of-pocket maximum, which is pretty substantial, right, in general. And so what they do, and you're familiar with HRAs, I know, but what they do is they underwrite it, right, and they take on the risk of the out-of-pocket and the deductible based on expected utilization, and they create an underwritten rate, okay? And I'll have it broke down into multiple tiers, and I'll show you. They do that, and if you run over that amount, they have to eat it, okay? If you run under that amount and there's still money in your reserve, they give you the choice to credit 100% to the next year or get 2/3 of it back to the county, okay? And I'll show you that. It'll make more sense when I show you the next spread. But as far as United Healthcare by themselves has a very nice plan option compared to what you currently have. But that combination over there is still underneath renewal, and it's a really, really improved benefit. And so, I mean, that's real similar like what Erath County has. Just to let you know, Erath County, I'll tell you the counties that we have that have nonstop. Erath County, Robertson County, Milam County, Freestone County, Bosque County, Madison County. I'm gonna miss one or two, but counties, they all have the nonstop health with a combination of either United Healthcare, Blue Cross, or a different carrier, okay? And so it is a very, very nice option, and estimated savings are a lot. So how that works, just so y'all know, is somebody goes to the doctor. You have two cards, okay? You have your United Healthcare card. You file it like you normally do. Just say you're going to your primary office visit. You give them your card. They run them through the benefits, and they're invoicing you for whatever the cost of that visit is, right? So as soon as you get that invoice, you have a Visa card that's fully loaded with your deductible and out-of-pocket max. You just use it to pay for it. And that's it. You're paying the invoice. As long as they accept a Visa card, they'll take it, okay?
Is
So,
the
go ahead.
patient notified immediately if they're trying to use it for something that's not qualified?
Yes, ma'am. So it's going to, if it's not medically coded, it's not going to work.
Okay.
It's going to decline immediately, right? The other thing, now, if somebody there's always somebody that tries to misuse the card, I'll just say that. It has to be approved by United Healthcare as a covered benefit to be paid for by the card. Does that make sense? Or the out-of-pockets won't work. Because once your out-of-pocket's met on the card, the plan picks up at 100% because the out-of-pocket maximum with United Healthcare is covered at 100%. Does that make sense to everybody? Because it's loaded with the out-of-pocket max. So once you've run through that benefit, United Healthcare is paying the risk. That's why Nonstop pays or loads the card with $6,500 or $13,000, depending on if it's an individual, a spouse, or dependent, or family. Okay. Now, what they do is anything $250 and under, they'll never ask a question on, to be honest with you. But if somebody, let's just say this, if they try to go pay for Ozempic and it's not, there's not approved for them under United Health Card, it's not, United Healthcare is not going to pay, okay? Because if they try to go get Botox or whatever it is, lip flip or whatever all that, stuff is, right? It's not going to work for that kind of stuff, okay?
Just like the FSA?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not. And so now the only thing that's like, Curative has their baseline visit and their things and their pharmacy stuff. Nonstop, how they help make sure people aren't misusing it is if it's, let's just say a large charge. Let's say somebody comes in and swipes a card and it's $1,000. Nonstop will ask sometimes for them to provide an EOB to make sure that procedure was covered by United Healthcare. So somebody would have to submit an EOB, and we can help them with that, or they can submit it direct to Nonstop. And as long as it was covered under United Healthcare, there's no problem with the benefit. Okay?
But you don't see a lot of denials as long as it's medically coded.
Yes, ma'am. As long as it's covered, as long as it's approved under the carrier, you're really just paying the invoice. There's really no problem, right? If it's not covered, like Ozempic can be for somebody, that's probably the most common thing I've seen, and they just try to get it anyway, then, yeah, it's not going to be covered under the non-stop health card, and you don't want it to be, right? You don't want people spending on money on stuff that's not covered under the medical plan, right? So if a procedure is not approved, they can't just go get it. Does that make sense to everybody? If it's not approved and an in-network doctor, facility, prescription, and it's not covered under United Healthcare, Nonstop Health will not cover that particular item, okay? They will not let you pay for the invoice.
Who pays for nonstop?
It's included in the county rate, so it pairs with your United Healthcare plan. So let me flip over to this next page, make a little more sense.
Can I ask one question
Yes, sir.
before you do that? On the United Healthcare plan, is this like a PPO or an HMO? Do you have to have a referral for specialists, or how does that work?
It's a national PPO, it's open access, so you
Okay.
can go, just like your Blue Cross plan, you can go wherever you want to go.
Okay.
Okay?
And so how does the network compare to Blue Cross?
It's probably 95%, I would say. You know, the state and everybody used to be on United Healthcare. United Healthcare is one of the largest providers there is in the country. Okay?
95% match with.
Yes, ma'am. Could there be a random specialist that's somebody uses that's not a network? That's all, I mean, I can't possibly tell you it could be 100%, right? But it's one of the largest networks there is in the country. Go ahead.
I'm back in the back now. I moved 2 counties to United last year, and they renewed with United this year. So they moved from TAC to United. So they didn't have any disruption per se. They didn't say anything to me about someone being short on the network. Just like Daniel mentioned earlier, specialists, you know, like a dermatologist or something, there may be someone that take one and not others. But then some are going to get improved network access too with United, so.
So let's say you do, a good example, that you do have a dermatologist that's not covered, and they charge you whatever, $250 for office visit and whatever they do. So
Yeah.
can you use your
No, ma'am.
credit card for that?
No, ma'am. And the reason we don't usually, we could technically add that into Nonstop to cover that like that, but then it's never going to cross-accumulate to the max out-of-pocket for the plan. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't really make it to where it's 100% plan,
Okay.
right?
So only the plan on the far right is the one that has the non.
Yes, ma'am. Only the plan on the far right. That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Can you still pair that with the FSA or HSA?
So because it is an HSA plan, but because you're fully loaded with your out-of-pocket maximum, and it voids the ability to contribute to an HSA. But FSA is totally different.
You can do those with any of these options?
Yes, ma'am.
FSA?
Mhm.
So if we compared the second to last column, the one that's the 598 for employee,
Mhm.
to the 835 now.
Yeah.
It's 835, right, not 845?
Yes, ma'am, it is 830, just the employee-only rate.
Yeah.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the differences are when you get to the primary care specialist and urgent care. If I did for my, if I went to the doctor and I paid the $30, if I'm in the second to last column and I paid the $30 primary care, without the nonstop, I would just pay $30. With the nonstop, I would use my card.
So on that
Is that
particular.
how that works?
Well, yes and no, because that particular plan is an HSA plan. So those copays on that plan, not the other two, but that plan that we're pairing the nonstop with, they don't kick in until the deductible's met. Because if you had this plan standalone, you would be able to contribute to an HSA, and you can't have first dollar coverage on an HSA. So the way that plan works, it's a $3,500 deductible.
Which one are you saying now?
The plan that we're pairing with nonstop.
Okay.
So like that plan to the very left of the nonstop plan is the plan we're using with nonstop to get to that rate on the far right. Okay? But a plan by itself, if you remove nonstop from it, it's an HSA plan, and it's a $3,500 deductible, 80/20 to $6,500 out-of-pocket max for an individual. But the copays don't kick in until the deductible's met. Once that $3,500 is met, then it's a $30. It goes, it's the in between the $3,500 and the $6,500.
It says that after deduction.
Yes, ma'am.
So you would be paying it's a high deductible plan, so you'd be paying everything until your deductible's met.
That's right, but that's why we use that one to pair with nonstop, because it doesn't really matter, because let's say it's $75, you're just paying for it with the Visa card. So the copays and any of the copays on the nonstop plan, they're nice, but they're irrelevant because you've got a Visa card loaded with the out-of-pocket maximum, so you just pay your invoices until the plan's maxed out, and then after that, the plan picks up at 100%.
So
Okay.
essentially, it's kind of similar to the curative plan where you're not having any
You have just,
out-of-pocket costs because you get the preload.
yeah, except on this one, there's zero out-of-pocket for anything. Like the full max out-of-pocket is covered. On curative, there is non-preferred specialty medications that do have a $50 and $250 copay, right? So there is a little exposure there could be for some people that's not nonstop will be taken care of, okay? And I'm sorry about the $10. I mean, that was negotiated literally on the drive over here, okay? And so, but which $10 is is a nice little nick here at the last minute, right? So, but it is a really unique option. It's a really nice option. I have a lot of people that absolutely love it a lot, and you can call any of the counties that we have, and they're very, very happy with it, and the employees are extremely happy with it, because it can change people's lives that are, especially a single mother that doesn't have any out-of-pocket for her kids. That's substantial. It's substantial for anybody, to be honest with you, nowadays. So anyway, I'm going to flip over to a nonstop spread just to make sure y'all understand exactly how that would work, okay, and break down the numbers on that. So this particular page here, they actually gave us 3 options with the nonstop paired with that identical plan, okay, for you to look at. So option 1 up there is the one that's on the very far right that we just looked at, the 845 number. And they paired with the United Healthcare plan. But if you scroll down and look, or say scroll down, you see the estimated employee out-of-pocket savings with this plan based on their utilization. Now, this is an estimate. They cannot be exactly right, but it says $996,828 is their expected usage, okay, between everybody. And so if you look at that, we're at 835, not 845, but that's a really unique deal. But they also give you an option 2 and an option 3. Now, option 2 and option 3 are what's called their back-end exposure. So nonstop doesn't do any deductible, in other words. They pay first dollar for everything. So if the county were to consider a back-end option, they would fully load the card with all the money but $1,000 towards the out-of-pocket on option 2, and option 3 all but $2,000, but it's first dollar. It goes backwards instead of deductible, co-insured out-of-pocket. Basically, first option, if it's $6,500 out-of-pocket, they're going to put $5,500 on that card, and you use that until once that is up, and then the plan picks up. In this case, it would pick up at co-insurance and then whatever's left, $1,000 left in that out-of-pocket maximum, okay? So it wouldn't be first. Does that make sense? So it wouldn't be the employees paying the money out-of-pocket first. It would be nonstop.
That's per employee.
Yes, ma'am.
So that would kind of be gambling that a lot of employees are never going to meet their deductible, is what that's saying. There.
Right. Well, you got to look at it like this. So this is just me talking right now. So Curative's model, they cover everybody's zero deductible. They've got a lot of exposure. Whereas on this case, like any of the claims that go towards nonstop, they're not going on to United Healthcare, right? Because nonstop's picking up those claims because they're picking up that deductible and out-of-pocket exposure that the employee would normally be paying, okay, the in-between. Whereas they're able to underwrite because they know what their max exposure is per person. So it's a little easier, in my opinion, to budget for them, to budget, hey, I know for an individual, $6,500 is my worst case that I'm spending on this person. When in average, usually it's like 15% of large claimants max out their plan in a year. Does that make sense? So they know what their expected usage. And look, if they are wrong and y'all run really hot and everybody just blows through this, it's on them. That's not on y'all. That's on them because this is fully underwritten, okay? It's like it's like a fully insured HRA, even though that's not what it is, okay? But that's, in your mind, that's the way you can think of it like. They're fully funding the out-of-pocket for the individual, and if somebody's enrolled in employee family or employee children, they're going to get $13,000 on that card, okay? Does that make sense to everybody? right? The only charge that they give, and that you don't, like, they try to give a little bit of charge if people go to the emergency room, okay? And so what they do is you go to the emergency room and it's a $6,500 bill. You can just swipe your card and pay for it, $6,500. But they will bill you only if it's non-emergent, right? If it's true emergency room, it doesn't matter. But if it's non-emergent, they can bill the individual $100, okay? Just to try to prevent people from running over there for everything. Does that make, because they got a free plan? Yeah, yeah, right.
Does that impact renewal? Let's say we do this and everybody's blowing and going and, you know, meets their deductible and everything else. How does that impact the renewal next year?
So I can tell you, so far, the renewals have been very nice, okay? On all of our nonstop plans and the counties that we've had them. I can tell you that we've got counties that we've had for 10+ years that rates are cheaper now than they were 6, 7, 8 years ago. So I can tell you that for certain. And you can call the judge and commissioners and talk to them as well. But it's a really unique benefit. You know, can I sit here and guarantee that I can't guarantee anything, right? It's based on utilization, based on how you run in a given year, and based on risk and that kind of thing, right? But in overall, you know, in this particular model, we've had offsets where a group, let's say a county's run kind of a little hot that year because they're really sick. They had a decent increase from the carrier, but nonstop, but they average out the increase too. So they track it throughout the year on a PEPM basis. And let's just say right now that PEPM is, I'm just going to make it up, $200, but y'all ran it 160. Next year renewal, they're going to back that out to 160 on the cost. And on top of that, they have a claims reserve that I'm going to show you. I can actually show you on this next slide. That reserve amount on the second one, the first column of premium, that is United Healthcare. That has nothing to do with nonstop, okay? The second column, that reserve amount, that is their claims reserve that goes into this reserve every month, right? That's part of the rate that's built into that $845. And that's tracked every month. And after the 12th month, if there is money left, the county has to roll over 100% into a credit, or they get 2/3 of it back, okay? That's kind of the way they do things. But that'll be after the renewal is generated based on utilization on average PEPM, okay? I know that may be clear as mud, but does that make sense a little bit?
Well, let me ask you this, okay, so you're saying the reserve money that goes in there, basically 1.1 million or whatever that goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say through the year, we use 700,000 of that.
Mm-hmm.
So 400,000, or that $400,000 that's still there rolls into the plan next year?
If
you know, if everything was exactly the same, next year our premium is 700,000 instead of the 1.1 million, because that, I mean, it's a direct.
Yes, sir. If you run that well, which will be wonderful, if you run that well, they will underwrite it first. But what they do is they underwrite it first based on average PPM utilization. Okay, that's what they'll do at the renewal. And then if we still have money left over, once this through run out, because you got to run through run out, which is 12 months at least. If it is, then you can get credit that for the following year. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So that if you ran well, I would be shocked if I mean, I don't know what that number would be, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, I would think they'd be close.
They're pretty good at where they're at. It's not going to be, I mean, it could be substantial, but it won't be a whole bunch of money, I wouldn't think, but it could be. I mean, I can't tell you that. But it is a nice benefit that's there in case that happens. And if you run hot, it doesn't matter. That's their fault. They missed.
And that is a completely separate program, so even if we say, okay, we want to go back to Blue Cross Blue Shield away from United, the nonstop is
That is
independent of that.
That is correct. It can go with any carrier, doesn't really matter, except for Curative, because Curative's got a zero deductible, and there's not really any reason to have it, if that makes sense, right? So they take on the risk of what they underwrite, and that kind of is what it is. We don't really have any choice over whatever they put their rates at. It's kind of what they feel like the utilization is going to be based on your particular data. right? And that's how they come up with these different rating schemes to pair with United Healthcare.
I have a question.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Let's say I'm an individual and we're on this plan. Let's say we take option 3. So my out-of-pocket is $6,500. We take option 3, so my card is loaded with $4,500.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened, how do they pay? When they have to pay the $4,500 and first dollar, how do they pay that?
So at that point, in that particular plan, you'd already met your $3,500 deductible with United Healthcare, right? Because it's $3,500, and you still have $1,000 left. So you'd be at $1,000 to that $6,500 out-of-pocket max. And so you're going to be in the co-insurance level, which is either 80 or 60% for another $2,000 until you get to that $6,500, okay? Does that make sense to everybody, right? Because it's a cost share at that point because of where you're at in the plan with United. Okay.
So in that case, so if I spent my whole $4,500 on my card,
Mhm.
and I go to the doctor and my card is $200,
Yes, ma'am.
then I would just pay out of pocket the 80% or the 20%?
Well, so on an office visit on that particular plan, you're going to be back into those co-pays. So like a primary care is going to be $30, okay? Specialist will be $60. Urgent care will be $50. Once you've met, and you've already met that deductible if you've used that $4,500, right? And then, but if it's a deductible expense, let's say outside of the co-pays, like you go in for a inpatient surgery, once United's negotiated the bill, then there'll be a split of either 80 or 60%, depending on what doctor you go to, okay? And then you pay that 20% or 40%. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're in the co-insurance, in other words, is what I'm saying. Yes, ma'am. In option 3.
But the plan is starting to pick up some of it.
Yes,
still,
ma'am.
even though-
That's right.
You've met your deductibles.
That's right. And it'll still be that cost share until you get to that out-of-pocket max, and then the plan picks up at 100% after that.
Which option 2 and 3 puts a little bit more of the burden on the employee again, to where they are going to have to be responsible for possibly $1,000 or $2,000 if they're sick. If it's major medical, then more than likely they're going to be out $1,000 or $2,000 at that point, once they've paid what's on their HSA card.
But, I mean, right now, just get me if I'm wrong, you have a $5,000 plan, right?
Now
Right.
they're paying everything until they meet their deductible.
They are.
So
Yeah.
it's actually.
They are, yes. Yeah.
Either of the options are
It's less risk for the employee.
substantially better than where you're at now. Yes, ma'am, you are correct.
I say they, we.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a real life example.
Yes,
Last year,
sir.
my wife, she worked for the county, she had open heart surgery. So we met her 8,000 total everything. I had cancer, so we met my 16 grand for both of us out of pocket. How does that compare to this?
On either the nonstop or the curative, you would have paid anything.
Sure, it depends on the script.
Yeah, unless there's a script in that out of pocket. But the surgery itself, or whatever, cancer treatment, depending on the prescription, was curative. But with nonstop, you would not have paid $1.
The monthly premiums are pretty different if you're talking about UHS versus, or United versus Curative. To the employee, like if you have anyone additional,
I know, it's just,
just you by yourself.
me and my wife,
that's
she worked for the county also.
So she's individual, you're individual, so that wouldn't matter either. But for someone like me, I'm carrying my family, so I'm looking at my monthly premium. And if we choose UHS, which I know there's only 5 that carry their whole family, so we're the minority. But I'm looking at $3,000 more a year if we do the nonstop with UHS versus Curative is the same cost. So
Yes.
there's that to consider as well. I know there's only 5, but if you're looking at 50 that carry children, make sure you're looking at those monthly premium impacts as well.
And you're talking about versus your current rates, right?
Correct.
Not renewal
Well, yeah, right.
The renewal.
So I'm just trying to figure out
versus current rates.
all the
Yes, ma'am.
angles, what people are gonna say, how it's gonna
Yes, so with nonstop, if you look at the United Healthcare and where it is right this second, it is cheaper on the employee only, and it's cheaper on the employee spouse. It's a little bit more expensive on the employed children, and then about from renewal,
$150?
yes, ma'am, on the family. But you're also getting a $13,000 loaded card. Now, if let's see if,
$57.
But you can't use that towards your monthly premium, so
no, ma'am, but
So
you
it's
use
a-
it. That's correct.
there's,
So-
just more to consider.
Right, no,
Just throwing it
I
out there.
completely agree, and I completely understand.
Are
And
you-
it is, and it's a, either option, I'll be honest with you, are a substantial benefit improvement compared to where you're at right now.
It's gonna, you said the $2,000 for the whole year, it's
Yeah,
$1,884.
3,180 for the whole year. I'm just looking,
3,000?
trying to figure out all the options, right? So if you chose, so say we're looking at something that's gonna cost 0 to the employee, right? So that's the two options, the curative or the United Health with paired with the nonstop. So
Yeah.
then you look at, okay, so if it's all basically the same, nothing out of pocket, and the county's portion is pretty much the same, then what does that impact to the person, right?
Mhm.
So the person is the monthly premium, so what's the difference there? So curative is holding with what we currently have, not even, it's cheaper than our renewal rate, so that's great. So then look at what is United Health with the nonstop, what is that at a monthly premium? For me as a family, it's $3,000 more a year. So even
Yeah.
though I'm not paying any whatevers when I go to the doctor, which is, we don't, just personally, I don't spend $300 a month on co-pays, whatevers, so ultimately it would cost me more. But, with someone with just their children, which is besides just an individual, the next highest bidder, and so it would be, but it's just something to think about.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am, that's a great point. And versus renewal, I got it at $1,884 a year for a family versus renewal with TAC. Now, if you look at plan design qualities, you could actually look at that second plan with United Healthcare without nonstop, and that family rate drops $400 a month, right, to equal, as close as they have to the plan that you have. There might be a few differences, right? But that's without the nonstop, okay? Nonstop is taking on a lot of exposure, okay? And so especially when you're counting individuals, dependents, spouses, the whole thing, right? And that's kind of why we're showing you this. It's a really, really nice option. Does anybody have any questions about the nonstop or the United Healthcare by itself? I hadn't really spent a lot of time on that. Yes, sir.
Is there any way to make that portion electable? Could we go with a base plan and then have an option for the nonstop for an employee or family?
No,
Okay,
sir.
all right.
Because it's an underwritten rate, you'd have biased enrollment, and they wouldn't know what that enrollment would be. There'd be no way to underwrite.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I mean
Yeah,
for that, to be honest.
Figured that was a long shot.
Yes, I know. That would be fantastic, but unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Now, certain things the county could do or consider doing is you can internally cost shift rates. These are just the full rates, right? So what I'm saying is there's five families, right? That's only $100 and something a month. You could cost a shift internally once we choose what plan to make that rate what you want it to be for the employees, but does that make sense?
So you're saying, we might say employee spouse is 1520 instead of 1505?
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly right. The carriers, all they care about is getting the funding, right? We can make our internal rates and payroll deductions whatever we choose we want to be. You can even make a 5-tier rate. We've got multiple, we can do that all internally. You know, it just makes you set up whatever payroll deductions you choose and how you want it to look for the employees. Does that make sense to everybody? So like, I have counties that it's a 4-tier rate, and invoices is 4-tier, but we create a 5th tier, and we create employee plus one child or employee plus multiple children. And we create rates that way, but we just do it internally to set that. Or they offset the employee child rate, or they offset the employee family, whatever to make the deal work best for what they feel for their employees, okay?
This may be a really silly question, but I just want to be sure.
There's no question, silly, no
Okay,
ma'am.
So employee and spouse, the
Mhm.
1505.
Yes, ma'am.
The total premium for both those people is really 1505 plus 835? Or is it
No.
1505?
It includes that in the 1505.
So
So,
that means that the employee, on the employee plus spouse, the employee's really just paying the difference of the 1505?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
the 835?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought that was it, but then when we were talking about the $3,000 increase, then I was like, wait, are you having to pay all of that, or are you just paying?
Correct. You would, for all those rates minus the employee only, you have to back out that employee-only portion out of those
That's what I
rates.
thought, but I was getting confused with the
Yes, ma'am.
additional $3,000.
But that's a great question for clarification.
So if we want to know to the employee's expense, we need to back out 835 from 1505, 1295, and 2025.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. And again, we can always, like I said, cost shift if we needed to.
Now, would that be backing it out of 1505 or 1495? Because of the $10, was it negotiated?
$10 just on the employee-only.
Gotcha.
rate.
Okay.
On the
All right.
way here, now, I might, you know, I can't say, but I might could squeeze that out of each rate, but I've got it for sure on the employee-only rate. Okay?
So, so we have to do that with all of the comparison plans too, like what they're currently paying. So, to the employee, or employee and spouse on this non-stop plan is 607, employee and children is 406, and employee and family is 1195. Did I do that right? Auditor.
Where are we looking?
I'm lost with
So if you take 1505 minus 835, that's 670.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Okay.
So the spouse, employee with spouse, if you take the 1505 minus 835, that's 670. So you take 1295, this, I'm just doing the United Health with the non-stop.
Which is about a $56 increase. It's $55.48 from what employees are currently paying.
Yeah, 460, and then,
Let me add this up here. 5 people.
So for me, because I care, you know, I'm like intrinsically motivated in my own behalf, it would be $2,920.56 more a year for me if you did the UHF or United Health with a nonstop. Or with that.
okay, so
If we did-
670, 460, and 1190.
If we did curative, it would be $50 less. So I would save $600 a year.
That makes sense.
Yeah, just,
But, I mean, it's not, I mean, now we're, like I was saying earlier, now we're having to compare all this on the fly without really having, knowing what the total impact to the employees, and then we got,
Let me just ask this real fast. Like what, out of each option, whether it's curative or United Healthcare or United Healthcare nonstop, which of those would you prefer? Like as far as solutions? If you had to choose which one you wanted, or perfect.
I think personally, the the nonstop, because there is some possibility of reduced premium protection. That's here, the curative is here.
Right.
Because I think that that's pipe dream, that's not, I mean.
I understand.
Actuaries are, they've got that stuff nailed down pretty tightly, so it's not.
No, I understand completely. So, yeah, is that,
What concerns you about the curative plan?
The only hesitation would be, is that network as large as United?
Okay.
I would think probably the answer on that's no. You know,
I can agree with that. I can understand that completely.
Yeah.
that
We think
concern.
the Aetna network is smaller than the
United.
Blue Cross, Blue Shield, or United.
yeah, I would.
I mean, I've been, over my life, I've been on all of them, but I just don't, they all change and go with different.
That you're.
And I don't
they
know
do.
if that's even a significant thing. I mean, it's, you know, out of 300 employees, 5 of them have to change. They're dermatologists.
Yeah,
I
right,
mean, you know,
right.
I don't
Well,
imagine that that's super significant.
The reason I'm asking is because while we're just sitting here thinking, I'm sitting here looking at the ratings here, and the family rate, there's only 5 enrolled. And it's, let's say versus renewal, it's only $185, which is like $11,000 a year for 5 people. And if I were able to get them to remove that in a way, then that might make the decision easier, if that makes sense, right? So if I can shift that or get them to say, okay, to get the business, we'll remove that $11,000 and we'll use that onto that family plan. Does that make sense? And we'll get that rate down.
But would you be able to make that adjustment on all of them? I don't
Well-
want to focus just on the 5 family employees.
The other 2, the employee only and the employee spouse is really I mean, y'all can tell me what you want, but they're better than renewal already. So I don't see any reason to hit those. I could go after the child's going to be hard, and the reason is because if you look at your employed children enrollment, there's 50 of those, right? There's a pretty good amount of money there on the nonstop, but on the family, since there's only 5, I believe there's a way to get that. I could use that in the,
Knock it down to like 1,700.
I could probably get it down, yes, ma'am. Yeah, I could get it down,
1,700 would be
I don't,
about the difference between, I mean, it's close to, it's not as much as the renewal issue, but it's more than the current. So it's kind of between, it's 17.
1,800 you're saying? Or
I said, oh, you're right.
you want me to go 18? I was looking at it, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page here. But if, I could see that being a possibility to do that, okay? Because it's rate shifts in a group y'all size, we can rate shift, or maybe use a little bit of negotiation to get a tier lined out where we need to be. Does that make sense to everybody a little bit? Okay?
You're gonna make a phone call?
I can make a phone call. I can step out and make one right now. I texted him already, and he's working on it currently. Do you mind if I step out and call him real fast? Is that okay?
In the meantime, I can look at curatives,
Yeah.
within 6.1 miles of here. We have 49 primary care positions in that work here. So I'm gonna look at Blue Cross and see what that compares to primary care.
How many you say?
49 within 6.1 miles of right here.
Do they have I mean, I know that once you sign up, you get a list of, here's all your in-network doctors. Do you
Yes.
have that? You can just email it to us?
We can, I can pull Graham, I mean, how far do you make outside of, where do we go from here if we go to, in
I mean, a
town?
lot of people go to Fort Worth.
Fort Worth,
Or,
yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
it's
say a
gonna
30-mile radius.
yeah, I can do that, it'll be massive, but yes, absolutely, I can email.
Yeah, or Stephenville or Glen Rose.
Right. Fort Worth has 458 primary cares in the Cures Network. You said Stephenville,
I just need my one.
We all just need our one.
Yeah.
Shane Gillum, Leslie Gillum. Gillime.
Is that here in town?
No, it's in Steveville.
So if you looked at the curative for employee plus children, which was probably, single parents, right? So if you look at that, curative is keeping that same rate, so it will not increase their cost to them. But if you look at the United Health Plus nonstop, it's $146.68 a month increase for them, which is like 12%. And that's significant, even though they're zero deductibles, that's right off of their paycheck.
That's a lot, too.
That's a lot for the single parents.
Yeah, I would rather not just focus on family.
Right, so I'm
Gilliam?
trying to look at it all, yeah, because
Gillim.
They all need to be looked at if they're gonna consider being reduced.
Gillim.
So you're saying that.
He's in there?
Curative,
All right.
if you
Physical
do that
therapy.
Zoom call.
No, no, no.
you pay
Primary.
Your out-of-pocket pay nothing, so you're saving that out-of-pocket
monthly premium,
and you're saving on
and
the
your deductibles. That, to me, that is the most,
I think the biggest complaint about curative, one is people are not gonna wanna do that initial Zoom call, but we'll encourage them to do that.
Well, I
Stay
mean,
on.
if you look at this, if that takes 30 minutes and it
Oh,
takes
exactly.
$5,000 deductible, that's 10 grand an hour. I'm looking at salaries, that's more than.
What that is, it's a hand holder.
Yeah.
And our people, we do have some that need someone to walk them through their process of trying to find a better prescription or trying to find a lesser cost for a prescription. Things like that we really haven't had in the past.
I'm just to take advantage of health coaching to, how can
Exactly.
I,
Well, I think that we assume that, I know that I've assumed in the past that whenever my mom started having a bunch of health issues, I assumed that all of her doctors knew what all the other doctors were doing, and they did not. That is not, nobody has any information on anything. So I think maybe having to sit down with somebody and saying, what medications are you on? What are the possible contraindications toward each other
And a
and stuff
health
like
coach,
that?
that
And
is
that could be,
great.
yeah.
Word for that.
yeah,
Someone-
and like the Erosti, which I think I'm gonna take up on here the next couple of days for my shoulder, but, I had never heard of that, so you go into this and say, hey, this is a different sort of pain management, a much lower cost pain management than just going and getting prescriptions for Tramadol, then, that ends up being a cost savings to the insurance company as well, so.
so, what I was saying, Melissa, is your answers don't show up. I know you replied, but for some reason on our phone, it doesn't show up, so.
Y'all see what I'm showing
Oh,
here?
there he is, right there.
So Curative's website is very user-friendly, so we do Zoom calls and meetings all the time for enrollments. We'll come out in person and do it, but we can also record one that we can upload. But I'll go through here and I'll sit there on their website, and we can just find care all day long. You hit find care, it's the simplest thing in search network. Well, then we have zip code, so we can list here. Find a doctor by name, type, facility. All that stuff is really simple here. So if we go to primary care, and you can see all the primary care is listed here. You just hit primary care, and they all pop up. This is where I said there were 49 of them within 6 miles of this location. So, I mean, that's really simple there.
David Walker.
So pretty much I'd be shocked. I mean, I know we're being conservative when we say the network versus Blue, but since they have the First Health Network over the top of Curative, I feel really comfortable because it's Aetna. I mean, they're huge too, so.
So can you, you want to scroll, or can I just name a few docs that I know?
Primary care?
Yeah,
What is the,
Dr. Goodwin?
of course,
I'm sorry, Dr. Goodchild.
of course, they're not in alphabetical order. That would be too easy.
I know, I was trying to. Just go search by name or
I
something.
can. I was just gonna look through this really quick, just in case y'all see other names you're familiar with. Oh, I'm sorry, Goodchild is the last name, right? Is he a private practice or there it is?
She.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Dr. Letelier.
Yeah, he's on
You seen him?
Okay.
there. Yeah, you can see him on the map, on the far right side of the map. I see him in.
Ah,
I don't know.
who are we looking for? Smith.
Paul Smith?
He made a specialist. Oh, no, he's not. Brooks Smith, yeah.
It's under Charles Brooks.
I was going through that at the beginning fast, did you
He
see?
run up at the beginning of it.
So he's a primary care?
Yeah.
So Dr.
Seabrooks. I've seen him 25 years. No. Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. What's the name of where does he work?
He's in that medical plaza across. next
Is
to-
he part of like Granbury?
No.
No, okay.
1209.
What's the name of the facility? Medical,
It's, no, he owns
He owns his own practice.
his own building and everything.
what's his first name?
Charles
C. Brooks Smith.
C.
C. Brooks. There it is, it's that one.
MD.
Any request to be here.
Will you just give it to us and we'll send it their way? I don't see him either. That was Granbury officially, right?
Yes, he is here.
How far is that from where we're at? It's pretty close.
It
It's
was
within
fairly
6 miles, I
close.
would think.
Oh, yeah, it's like 2 miles from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'd have to call him and see.
All right, well, so it wasn't rate shift, but I just got 2% off the entire plan for United Healthcare right now. And then I'm asking nonstop to rate shift the family care. So we'll stay here the next 5 minutes, just talk to their CEO. Okay? So we've got 2% off the United Healthcare plan by itself.
All of the choices?
The
or just-
whole, all of it. Off of, you see that 598 right there? That's the plan we're paying, so we pick 2% off all those rates all the way down, which 2% off of 2.4 million basically is the dollar figure that we just got.
How much?
So that's a
No
good
matter
bit.
which United Healthcare plan we choose, or just on the nonstop?
Any United Healthcare plan we choose, doesn't have anything to do with nonstop, just the United Healthcare, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so 598 minus 2%,
Mm-hmm.
1049 minus 2%.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's correct. So it'll equal, I mean, if you look at these current figures, you're looking at around $50,000 overall that we just took off of the plan. So we could technically, use it, since employee-only rate just went down more than that $10 that we just said because of that, you could internally cost shift that family because we just made way more than that $11,000 off, if that makes sense, right? Now, if she's going to let me know here, here any second if we're able to even bring the nonstop family tier down further.
I started doing some figuring at the bottom of that spreadsheet, kind of with the numbers you were talking about.
So are you saying that the 2025 went down to 1985? So 2% was $40, so 2025 is now 1985? Is that what you're saying? Or is it not, is it 2%, but it's going to be spread
Because he said
differently
he's
throughout?
contacted
No,
nonstop
right
to
now,
see
it's
if
just spread throughout the
family.
tier, just like this. But you took that 1293 times about 198, that's going to get pretty close to what that would be, right? The family rate on that, healthcare plan right there.
Which, oh, 1293 you're looking at, the third column?
Yes.
Stop.
Because this is with United, so we just dropped that, so, I'm going to do as much money as we could overall. If we can always keep those, we can keep this house rate where it's at, reduce the child and family rate based on enrollment, use up, you know what I mean, use up that $50,000 ourselves internally. But I didn't want to ask you to give us $7,000. You know what I mean, it's asking for the hours. Okay.
Okay,
So
so,
with the employee at 850, or I mean 835.
835, or it's going to be a little lower than that now because of that 2% reduction.
Okay, all right.
You know, I would just, say we could adjust it to 3 years. If I can get nonstop and drop it.
Correct.
further, this year, just say, where,
Yes.
Yes, they will. So we don't have to add that with nonstop back into.
with nonstop, right, so I just got United by itself to drop 2% off of their, that's the final to hopefully win the deal. And they just went ahead underwriting like that. And so they, but it was, I could ask them to cost you, but it would only say about $11,000. So 2% is about $50,000 that they just removed off the entire plan. And now I'm waiting on nonstop, it's with their CEO, if they can cost shift the family rate, bring that down to the, for us to go. That's right, that would be fantastic, absolutely, and it would allow us to cost shift internally to make the rates probably work for everybody. Okay? It would help everybody.
Is nonstop going to call you back?
She is with the CEO right now, actually, because she said, just hold on just a second. So, I hold on.
Well, you may need to stand out in the hall because the signal.
It's not very good.
You're waiting on-
Yeah, go in the
you're waiting on
hall.
hot text, it may not be coming for.
Right, I'm getting them every now and then. I'll be right back. Sorry.
I understand.
so instead of in third tier, instead of 598, it would be 586.
Or you just take it off 2%.
The way he shifted around.
Yeah.
1049 is now 1049, 242 is now
20 employees in. Twenty-one employees, we have spent $45,565.96. I do have some that are in my office that I'm still waiting for the deductible report for July, which means July, August, and September. We still go through those 3 months.
21 employees, 45 what?
Payout is $45,565.96.
And we are at
All right.
2,200 out of pocket. What's the breakdown on that?
2,500, anything above the 2,500, which when Daniel and I talked last night, he did make a good point. Not only are you spending $816.16 per employee, you've also budgeted $75,000.
Right.
So it's actually about $836.16 per employee that's being budgeted for.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna show you, I know you like,
Yeah, I gotta do the numbers.
so basically, we're gonna take 2% off of these rates here only, and then we're gonna take $100 off of, the non-sub rate, which is. No, sorry, that's what we got. So, you can just take it off here, what you want to. Just make that 571.
Why is it, I thought it was 2% off of all of the United Healthcare plans.
It is, but no, it's not separate from that. So we put those together. Does that make sense? So,
That's what I was asking.
yeah,
So nonstop's gonna go to 2%, they go for $100 off
the family rate.
the family rate per month.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we got 2% off the full, any of the United plans, we got 2% off of the rates. Any of them.
Including the non-stop.
Not
No,
all,
it's separate.
non-stop separate.
But it's an underlying United Healthcare.
It is, but it's two different premiums built into one place. Everyone calculation. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we got 2% off the United Healthcare rates.
Either plan, any.
Any United Healthcare plan, doesn't matter which one you look at, 2% across the board. And then we got $100 off the family rate on nonstop, which is on that sheet. You can basically take this down to 571 and then order top 20.
Stephanie was here, so when she was saying what her monthly premium was, because she doesn't have any. They don't go to the doctor that much or anything. This $100 would make, what did she say it was, $300 and some odd dollars a month?
From renewal, it's only $185 with tax, so really that's what you're choosing off of. But from current rates, it's about,
Well, I think she was comparing to the curative.
Yeah, she was comparing to curative.
Yeah.
I think it's 146 from the current to the non-stop.
Yeah,
So for the employee plus children.
okay, so on this sheet that we're looking at, that, this one that's on the
Go back
screen.
and refigure these because these.
Yeah,
are-
here she is right here. We've got some news for you. It's $100 off the monthly plan is what Nonstop has come back with. What does that do to you with what you were saying about?
For all of them,
just the
Just
family.
the family, just the family.
so,
That's what you're interested in, isn't it?
for me, but also
Yeah.
about the single parents, right? And so,
You got quite a few single parent
We could use that.
employees.
2% money, and however you all want to use it. Does that make sense?
So just so I'm clear, because United Healthcare is the underlying plan of nonstop, the 2% applies to the underlying plan.
That's correct.
Okay. And, okay, and so instead of the 840 or 835,
Just take the 2% off the 845.
Okay, that's
I mean,
fine.
sorry, it's not the 845, the 5, 898. You've already done that, haven't you?
That's what's up there.
Yeah, so if you look on the deal here, on that, in column H, the rates to the right is the 2% off of those rates all the way down, okay?
Why doesn't it apply to the last one? I know you keep telling me it's because it's nonstop, but the underlying plan is United Healthcare.
Correct. It does apply to that, but it only applies to the non-healthcare portion of that. That plan is nonstop plus for that healthcare. Does that make sense? So like, you should go here. So that's that United Healthcare plan.
Okay.
This is nonstop, added up to get these rates. Okay?
Okay.
So we just took 2% off of this, and then $100 off of that.
So then this will change.
It all changes, yes, what was that?
What went off 100, Daniel? Just the family?
The family went off down $100.
Everything else on the nonstop stayed the same on these other tiers? Okay, sorry.
So you
I had
can
that
take-
figured earlier, but I took it off there because I thought it changed.
Yeah, so you can take $100 off that kind, well, you take 2% off the United Health.
I already did that, so that 586.91,
Yep.
586.91. Plus 186.11 plus 10. They didn't let me do that on one of them. I think it was this one last time. That's what the,
Also, he's gonna put the exact calculation up here beside it, but if it's 2 pennies off and we need to round it for accounting purposes, we can negotiate a rounding. You know what I mean for that, so don't worry about that. You need to round it to 0 for everybody.
Okay, so if you're looking at the family, which thank you for negotiating that saves me like $1,000 a year, but if you're looking at like the single parents, they're still at $129.83 more a month from today's rates.
Current rates, right, which you gotta realize tax current rates, unless you move the curative, are no longer an option, right? So that, it's not even on the table anymore, they will not adjust their rate. Based on their-
Current rate is no longer, they're going up.
They're going up, yes, sir. Unfortunately, it's not an option, it doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, so
you told me,
all things considered, we can go with the renewal rate as a comparative.
Yes. We tried, they were real close, but it wouldn't budge.
Daniel, so you should take $100 off that number.
$100 off this number.
Unless you go curative, which is where to keep that rate.
Yes, if you go with the 1-year curative rate, that's what.
We do both. You ain't gonna wire them up. I haven't figured out a lot of line on that. I hate that.
Well, the thing I like
The
about
numbers are there.
curative is it encourages
I had all these calculations, they changed all that, because I said all these calculations, they changed because of the legislation.
experience less
Yeah.
going forward.
It does put a little bit of responsibility back on the employee, or actually any coverage, dependent, spouse.
City of Caldwell is another one that's moving to curative. I was just thinking about the ones that are moving. And they're setting up, City of Caldwell, that's other central Texas area. more
Stephanie,
than that.
what would it be with the curative nonstop? Is that what you,
Nonstop won't pair with curative,
It's just
nonstop?
because your curative's already at 0 deductible.
Oh,
Right, so there's no
Okay.
reason to spend that. No reason to spend that. But what, you just had to go back to that sheet you just had. up there.
Curative is pretty much equal to no, it's no increase to the employee. It's like you said at the very beginning when you first started, apples to apples on
Yes,
curative versus the current plan, there's no premium increase.
that's correct, yes, ma'am. They pretty much match, almost match your current rate. They're pretty.
And there's a $30,000 transition credit.
Transition, now that's for the county.
So basically what I figured here on this, I don't know if y'all can see that or not. But the first column, I did the math. So the county will save roughly, versus your current pricing with year one with curative, you're saving about $105,000 versus current. the 1 year with curative versus the renewal, it's about a $285,000 in savings for the county. And how I figured that is I took your premium, added that 75,000 reimbursement we already assumed that we're gonna do, minus that $30,000 in transition credit that you'll get one time, and that's kind of how I figured those numbers up. And that's a total premium. And then if you look at the far right column, as far as you get, the 2-year rate guarantee is about, $15,000 higher than, for the county, than you paid this year. But when it comes to your renewal, it saves about $165,000.
Tell me again, what's the 75,000 reimbursement?
That's what we have put aside. for
Oh,
the-
okay.
The deductible
Right.
reimbursement.
And
I
you're
would
in,
like to just roll that into our current budget and add it to.
So, and not, but we wouldn't need to have it set aside if there's
No, right, I wanted to just
I did.
add it to what the
I did,
county
but I
will
didn't leave it.
budget for
when I was
premiums.
doing all that
Yeah.
Go back to
premium,
that nonstop page real fast.
I had it in there calculated. See down there on
So
the,
something we aren't using in our, I guess, in our figures with this United Healthcare is that 75,000 in there too. You could technically use that money to offset the child tier or the family tier technically. We haven't actually considered that into that dollar figure, right?
I had that.
That's $75,000 additional dollars.
I had that all calculated till I went to messing up, changing the rates, but,
Right, because based on where the rates are now versus renewal, family rates, child rates about $60 higher or so, and family rates now is only $30 higher. So $30 on 5 people is only $150 a month. It's not a whole lot of money, right, that you could use. You could offset to get it back. You might even get it back to current rates if you wanted to. And then on the child rate, I know there's a lot of thinking, but, we could figure 50 times, $60. That's 3,000, that's only 36,000, rough, I'm just rough, $36,000 or so. So between the two, you're only looking at $37,800, right, to get those rates back to where your renewal is, at least. Now, we can do the math to see if it can get it back to current. Is that the amount, speaking right?
Yeah, so at the last place I worked, what the employer did to offset the higher rates was contribute a dollar amount per employee. So if you were having to cover yourself, it would be fully covered. If you were covering yourself plus spouse, it would be an additional $10 towards that spousal premium per month. And then they kind of had a graduated scale at the last place I worked at to offset these big increases. Just an idea to throw out there for you to consider. That doesn't mean that y'all have to do it that way, but I've seen there be some creativity on the employer side to accommodate for single parents or whatever.
Yeah.
People in need.
So with the curative plan, if I'm an employee, any of these options, whether I'm employee only, spouse, children, family, actually if I'm an employee spouse, I'm getting a $30 a month decrease in my premium.
and so
But
that,
the other premiums, my premium stays the same, but I have no out-of-pocket. As long as I do the Zoom, don't have my $5,000 deductible or $20,000
That's fine.
out-of-pocket, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So which is the best then, with the United, with the nonstop, or the curative plan?
So if you're looking at dollars, curative makes the most sense because it's zero out of pocket and it's taking the same premiums essentially as we currently have. So it's not going up, it's staying the same essentially, but the provider network is a little smaller. So that is the give, yeah.
And the Zoom requirement.
Yeah, the Zoom, but,
Yeah.
we looked through most, the doctor, wasn't that the one we were looking?
there was a few of them here in town that I
My
heard.
daughter's not on
Your
there.
doctor's not.
My doctor is not on there either for curative.
Did we look
But
at-
that is an option that they may accept curative.
It'll take 90 to 120 days if they.
Steve, your doctor's not on the curative plan? Yours isn't either, Stephanie?
Correct,
But it is on the United?
correct.
I don't know, I didn't look at United.
United's got a big plan. That's the one you were going through.
No, that
What,
was-
Brian?
It was curative, he was looking for it.
So yeah, just because somebody's not on it now doesn't mean that
Won't
they
be
have
on.
to spend a year on it.
What?
The doctor, I'm sorry, just because the doctor's not on it now doesn't mean that they won't be on
Right.
Right, right.
They could go through the process to.
But that doesn't mean the doctor will accept it.
it. Right, right.
Correct. Yeah, they have to agree to the contract.
Yeah.
What is it? Like at Steve, was that going to be, you know, this case doctors on the deal, say you go with curative, his doctor's not on it, doesn't get on
That'd be
it.
good.
Choices to switch?
25 years.
Yeah,
Huh?
That's your primary care, right, not your.
Yeah, he's not primary care.
Did you look for your oncologist or something?
I did not.
or my cardiologist.
So Melissa, what do you think, given our employees, Melissa, our makeup of employees, single, with children, blah, 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 what you doing on the thing? I think we narrowed it down to the United Care with nonstop, with what
Yes.
y'all negotiate the discount, or the curative plan.
I
What do you think?
Both plans offer something positive to our employees. The nonstop, I think, is great, even if the county decided to go with a little bit of back-end exposure, because that puts a little bit of responsibility on the employee. But I think the health coach is a great idea for a lot of our employees with the curative, because I think they could benefit. No doubt, premiums weigh heavy on some of our employees if they cover their children. That's where I see the biggest need, is employees who cover their children and the cost there for the premiums.
What's the monthly cost with a single parent that has children? What is,
On the United Health with.
Yeah.
So it looks to me like it was $129.83 more per month.
God.
But it's
That's
gonna
cool.
go down, right, with the discount?
That was with that 2%.
With the
off.
discount,
That's
okay.
with the 2% off?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you said for the children?
Yeah, the single parents is what I'm.
Is that versus current?
Versus current, yeah, so compared with curative,
Compared to curative? Okay.
essentially.
All right.
So I'm doing that.
So
129.83 times
There's-
12.
what's the 50 employees times that 129.83?
We're given the 3% raise for clerk, that didn't cover that, does not cover it.
I don't see him
I
in
didn't
those
see
guys
your
in
doctor
network.
on United either.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Is
see
yours?
him.
There's
Mine is on United, but not on
another thing
Curative.
about these doctors not in network. Some of them don't
But we
really
don't have.
know what they ain't
commercial
saying about them
services
at all.
like you
Some
do,
doctors
so
saying, I don't want to do
it's
this.
They don't want to do it.
So, cause I got a couple like that, and they said, why don't you just, cause we don't want to do business with them.
Your doctor, I mean, your doctor's not.
So that could be,
He's calling them. He's calling them. He's calling doctor's office.
6-7 weeks ago, I got a notice from them.
I was.
I
I don't know if I hung up or if it went up.
Cell phone service
You would
is
have to go out in the hallway.
not real
3
good.
weeks ago, I got a notice that they finally reached an agreement that they're gonna continue with Blue Cross.
You know.
Blue Cross is going up dramatically, and, you know, that's, well, who knows? And since my primary that I'd had for a while retired, I may go with you, and I'm not opposed to changing now.
There's actually several employees that we have that go see doctors.
But
Maybe we could ask.
whether I go back totally on Medicare or stay with,
He's calling them right now.
like I've got it right now, I don't know yet. I'm still looking at that for me.
yeah, I hear you.
There's no increase there other than they will.
Curative, it's first health, it's a heavy created that network. So
what is the cost for out of network? Say that you want to keep your current position and he's not in network. Well,
I don't know what's going on with this guy. I can't find him on the Blue Cross either.
Well, I know he takes Blue Cross, he has been.
That's what I mean, but he's not showing, they may be listed under different practice.
Charles,
Maybe just look for Charles.
Try Charles Smith instead of,
yeah, there can't be many of those.
that's the name.
That's the other word.
There you go. Found him.
All right, let's go over here and do the same thing then.
Let's say that.
That's with United.
Mhm. Nothing there.
So he's covered under United.
Well, no, that was blue.
Oh, I thought that was blue.
Oh,
Okay.
goodness.
I was just checking to find him.
And you didn't, even though just Charles, you didn't find him on Aetna? Or you have not?
I did, he wasn't on the,
I looked too, but I couldn't find one United.
let me, where can I search him? This isn't alphabetical order, at least I think, nope. There's still a first name. Nothing.
You think anybody answered the phone?
Huh? No.
No.
Right here. Let me search for an individual. There's
So,
a
let's say
80.
if we were to do the curative, which the premium based on this would stay the same as it is currently, so there would be no premium increase to the employee, and there's no deductible that they would have to pay. Couldn't we take that $75,000 and do similar to what Mount
That
Olive
it
saying
gives you
and
more
say
options for doctors.
Oh, I know.
Well, I think we're gonna
$100
have
I think that's
Well,
where
I-
we gotta go.
Well, that's what
I
I'd
think
rather
we're going to
have.
to
But these poor,
increase the number of employees we budget for, which I think is going to make a difference.
instead of 308.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking we may want to budget for at least 340. Based on current employees who take our plans, 349.
Okay, that's the questions that I asked.
Yes, and I'm pulling out that email that I sent.
But I couldn't see the answers to.
Currently, we have 349 employees enrolled. 25 have waived. So that means we have 335, approximately 335 positions that will take our insurance.
349 minus 25.
That have waived it, yes. And then we have 10 positions that have not been filled that I feel like we should probably budget for.
They're not filled.
Correct. We,
There's nothing on the.
they feel like they have enough applications to fill their position. I did not include any Senate Bill 22. Well, actually, there may be 2 or actually 3 included in that. So we may be looking at 332 positions. But I think we need to budget for more than 308, for sure. And then I'm not sure what the court's thinking about as far as added positions.
So the 349 minus
If you move
25
up,
is
yeah.
324.
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
349, is 349 the approved budgeted position? Is that what you're saying?
Well, actually, I think by looking at the dollar amount, it looks like we budgeted for about 320 employees.
In our, I'm not talking about.
In our current budget.
I'm talking about in our overall county budget pay count, approved pay count for this current year is what?
349 is what we have enrolled, yes.
Enrolled in what?
We have them on our spreadsheet.
Okay.
And then 25 of them
Do not-
waive.
Do not pay healthcare.
Correct, but we still show them on our spreadsheet because we have to enroll them even though they waive. They still have to be enrolled.
So that's 324 that are employee, I'll just say full-time equivalent positions that are approved in the county budget that are waiving healthcare.
That are enrolled. 324 is enrolled.
We're paying for 324 people to get
yeah.
insurance.
Of the 349 approved headcount in the budget, there's 324 that are on the roll.
Correct,
Healthcare.
that we're actively paying for. Then I have approximately 7 positions that are not filled that need to be added to this 324.
Because you're saying that they, when we fill those positions, they may or may not choose healthcare, but we
That's
should
right.
plan on them choosing it.
Yes, yes. And something else I think the court needs to consider, if it's an awesome plan, we may have more employees who take this plan.
That's a good point, because it is extremely,
It is.
it's a lot richer, way richer benefits than you currently offer, right?
And there's no way to know that until open
No,
enrollment.
that's correct.
Okay. So we would, let's say we need to plan for 340.
That would be my recommendation, yes.
340 minus 308 is 32 additional employees times 816 times 12.
Yes.
You're looking at 10 grand an employee-ish.
I better do that over, because I hope that's not the right number. 340
How many are we doing?
times
340.
She wants a budget 340.
Yep.
So I can make this,
$16 a month times
311,000-ish. 300,000. So that's 300 and,
3,329,000?
well, I just did to add the 32.
Oh,
The
okay.
difference between 308 employees and 340 employees is $313,000. If I did the math right, because I just
Yeah,
took
it's,
the
yeah.
32 times 816 times 12.
Yes, ma'am.
that's the two numbers I got.
And the current 23-24 budget is budgeted for 3,180,000, and then you would add the 75,000 to that if the court approved moving that over.
Would you agree with that, Matt? So you agree with that I have up there?
Yeah.
But then we're gonna have to take 86512 times 340. This is what the new,
What did you, what's our current budget?
3,180,000.
That's what you have in the.
That's what I have on my spreadsheet, yes, that I
Or going
received
into the new budget.
during the budget, yes. And I didn't put anything in the new budget because I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Oh,
So I'm just looking at what we currently have budgeted.
yeah.
And in my almost 10 years, this is probably the first time I have ever seen our county almost fully staffed.
yeah, very good.
Daniel, as far as the waiting period, does Curative or United Healthcare, do they set that, or do we just stick with?
Y'all said that.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with the cure.
Okay,
Y'all
okay.
said that internally.
Okay. And I would recommend we stay with what we currently have in place.
You have the ability to keep it like that. You can waive it at open enrollment. Y'all control your decision.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, currently, it's a 60-day waiting period.
Right. You do first of the month following 60, or do you do?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Like if someone was hired today, they'd be effective November 1st.
Okay. Gotcha. First of the month following 60
Yes.
days. Yes, ma'am.
And I think that's a good time frame.
That's perfect.
And it does help save a little money in there also.
Yes, ma'am.
With that waiting period.
Absolutely. I hope they're going to stay around or not, too.
Yes,
So we're still about $75,000 short.
that's what I came up with, yes.
In the budget.
Yes.
That's what the,
Well, we got to make a decision today, don't we?
I would appreciate it. We have a lot of work to do this week.
I'm gonna add that $75,000 to that number too.
Yes.
and open enrollment starts.
Monday.
And we will build out enrollment technology.
Yeah, they're gonna help us, so.
Included in all that for no cost, right?
So-
And help with all the enrollments.
Okay, so just to kind of get to the bottom line, for Curative, it's including comparing what Melissa had in last year's budget, including the premium and the $75,000 that was going towards deductible reimbursements. To go to the Curative plan, we need to add to the budget another $75,000.
That is correct. Now, what I'm unsure about is where the vision was budgeted. Is that included in the $3,180,000?
What? I'm
We
confused.
haven't even talked about
I was
vision.
just confused on what you said. We need to add 75,000 to the
What?
curative? I'm just-
No,
I was just-
to our
Just
current
in our
budget.
Okay, all right. I was like, I don't.
Yeah, so she budgeted this year, in our current budget year, we have $3,180,000 budgeted, plus $75,000 that was to go to offset a deductible.
Deductibles.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's $3,255,000. If you take the 340 employees times 816 times 12 months, that's $3,329,000. So the difference is about another $75,000 that we have to come up with to be able to
Budget for the full
budget
enrollment.
for that amount. And I haven't done that with, is the United Healthcare nonstop with the new,
Here's the new annual. I don't know if you can see the screen there.
well, I think I have to use the 833.
Right. I did 833.02 times 340. Came up with that monthly amount, and then I times it by 12 and came up with
Okay,
that
so
3.
that's $3,398,000. So that's even more that we have to.
Based on the 340.
Based on enrollments.
Yeah, we would.
Yes.
So that's 3,398,7.
So I've asked the treasurer if the vision is paid out of the same budget code as the medical. Stephanie, do you know?
What?
Is vision paid out of the same budget code as medical?
I only see one insurance line, so
I would assume so. So that's almost $17,000, well, that is $17,500 just for vision. That is an option for the court. And we'll look at the vision options at the back of this pamphlet. The employee could start paying for their own vision. And we were just discussing offering the employee dual or 2 different plans. And the employee pick the plan they want, and they pay for the vision. And that would free up $17,500 approximately, based on last year's numbers.
Saying they could pick either one of these medical plans?
No, the
Vision.
vision.
It's just vision. We
I'm
haven't got
talking vision now,
Okay.
sorry.
We have
But-
to stick with one medical plan. Right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Okay, so, just so, I mean, everybody may be doing this not on their own, but I'll just say it out loud, so that, the United Healthcare plan with the stop, nonstop, last year's budget to this year's budget, including the 75,000 that's currently set aside for premium, helping with deductibles, we would need to add another $143,721 to the budget. So we take this year's budget plus 75,000 plus another 143,000. So it's about double the impact from the curative plan.
But if we don't, like on United, you don't have to necessarily move that 75 over, because you're not reimbursing.
Well, we need to move it over because to help with the.
Offset
difference in
some
the
of the premium.
overall.
Okay, gotcha. So I can add that to this number then.
So you didn't find your doctor on either one of the plans. And there's probably other people whose doctors are either on or off. But did you ever call, they didn't answer the phone?
I couldn't get them to answer every time, and it just like, sound like it disconnect.
That's service.
Do you have a hotline so that you can call?
I've got the doctor's personal cell phone number, but I'm sure he's tied up with patients right now.
He's in surgery.
To get a doctor approved, what is the time, usually the time frame?
Curative is 90 to 120 days.
I'd probably
Okay,
say it's
okay.
pretty average with most carriers.
Okay, okay.
I just wanted to throw this out there. We were talking up here. To get a doctor, there may be doctors that don't want to be on it. Because so that's, there's two ends of that.
That's right.
So assuming that you can get one of them approved, they may not approve it. So, because I speak from personal experience on that.
Yes, sir.
So don't assume that you're going to get somebody on there.
That's correct.
They may not want to be on there.
That's right.
All right. Just making that
I
point.
did with my dentist. He doesn't participate with any insurance company. So I know I'm going to be out additional amount when I go to that dentist. And so it's the same type of thing, and you're exactly right.
No, but you're right, they have to agree to the contracts that are proposed
Yeah.
or whatever carrier is right. And that's what all of them are in negotiations all the time.
And that's looked at every year
Yes,
with
yes.
any insurance company.
It's all the time, and right
Yeah.
now, right now, Scott and White, with Blue Cross's contract only runs through October. And so if they don't renegotiate that contract, Blue Cross's network loses all of Scott and White's network in October. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, right? I don't think it will, but right
Yeah.
now, it hadn't been worked out yet.
And a couple of years ago, we had that same situation with Harris Southwest up here with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And it was like the last few days, and they agreed.
It happens, and we've lost hospitals for a period of time and then got them back. It's just contract negotiations with these insurance carriers.
Well, you're still hired.
So is
Yeah.
curative in Texas Health and like, do all the hospitals fall within their network?
I could actually pull each one of them up, but it should be in the majority of your major hospitals.
So like if you had an emergency, you couldn't call the person and you just went to the nearest emergency room.
Emergency room's gonna be covered no matter what, if it's a true emergency. Doesn't really matter what you do, with it or out. And that's gonna be with United, and that's gonna be with curative. If it's a true emergency, you're covered. Right now, if you're just going for then that's
Make a motion.
But if it's a true emergency, it's gonna be, no matter where you're at.
I guess to,
Melissa, how many employees do we have that single parent with children that's carried?
And then that I can answer, as far as single.
single, yeah,
Single parent with children.
Employee with children is 50 currently.
50.
50, but I can't answer how many's single.
Well, I think that's what you get now. Employee plus children covered, currently 50.
50.
Yeah,
Those are the ones that's going to be impacted the worst.
if we go with a higher premium.
United with the non-stop. That's
Yeah.
what really gets me.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
well,
they're raise that we're proposing on the deal, they're going to be losing what? Probably about $70 a month.
So it's like 65.
Yeah, per
Yeah.
pay,
Sorry, it's
Per pay
130
Yeah,
Yeah.
paycheck.
per pay.
65, yeah.
I'm going to make a, just so we can either discuss it or move on, I'm going to make a motion to adopt the curative plan for the employee health care.
The 1 year,
1 year.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion been made by Commissioner Samuelson to adopt the curative health plan, seconded by Commissioner Andrews. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously, 5-0. That help you out, Ms. Welborn?
It does, thank you.
All right.
Now we got to do the I. We got to do I, vision. Can't leave it unless you don't want to talk about vision.
Well, let's talk about vision on the thing.
Yes, we do need to discuss the vision.
Okay, so what do you suggest on that? Tell me what you think.
Well,
Melissa, come on, you're the one that deals with this, because you're going nuts.
I visited with Daniel, and
Change it over.
to be honest, the TAC plan looks the best.
Yeah, it
but
does.
We don't think TAC will let us stay.
You said what now, the tax plan?
The Blue Cross,
Current TAC plan looks the best.
this is the one we have, but since we just dropped them, they won't let us,
No, I
They're not
don't,
gonna let us stick around.
yeah.
they're not gonna let you stick
No.
around for that.
So Daniel recommended that both of the Equitable and the Guardian, is that what you were saying, Daniel?
Well, actually, just consider making it voluntary to help make it really nice for all the employees. Guardian, for us, will actually give us 2 networks
Okay,
underneath the vision plan. They will give a Davis network and a VSP network, which would throw pretty much all the vision providers on there. We just talked about that literally right before we got in here. This is showing on the right, it's showing the Davis network is $6. But if I asked them to, they would throw a VSP network in that with them as well as a dual network. So you have a really, really broad network, way better than what you got now on a voluntary basis, instead of like it's showing right now as employer paid. Okay, if it were me and my larger groups everywhere, they love the dual vision network because it's just way easier where people are to find providers, right? And they can just choose which plan. When you're sitting down in enrollment, you can just look, hey, this is who I use, let's see which network they're in, that's how they choose which vision plan they enroll in.
so
I know I asked you this last night and couldn't answer, couldn't see my answer. I don't know why our phones do that, but, so currently the county's paying for all employees to be enrolled in vision,
that's correct.
but how many people actually use it?
I can't tell you how many use it, but I can feel fairly confident that some employees sign up for it and never use it.
Yeah,
But they sign up for it because it's free.
but we're paying, it's free to, it's not,
employee.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're paying for a benefit that's not really being utilized to its fullest extent.
That's a possibility.
Okay.
Without pulling tax.
Records.
And I don't know if y'all were provided that or not, as far as the number of employees who utilize the vision plan. I can't say.
Mm.
No. And then you look in the world of making people happy, medical is always number 1. I would say dental's number 2, vision's kind of, and only for those people who really utilize the vision, which we have some right here. I use the exact same plan over there on the right. But it is a nice plan, and the dual network would allow for a lot more flexibility.
Yeah.
So, don't
I
you
mean-
agree?
No, I agree. I mean, I wear contacts, so.
Well,
So-
I use the vision to get my, eyes checked, but I bought these glasses from Zini for $45, where down the street was going to charge me like $250. So,
I need to look at Jeannie myself.
yeah.
So on the curative, if I go for my vision checkup, which I do annually, does the medical pay for the checkup?
You can check on that. Most medical carriers have a vision checkup included, Mike, and then you have the actual exam on this one too. It's $10.
Right.
But they're-
Which is the way our old plan was set up.
Yes, you could actually do 2. You could file one on your medical and then one on your.
And I would always just file my checkup on my plan, on the medical plan, and then I would use the vision to go towards whatever.
You do a reimbursement since they were out of network, file a claim and get reimbursed.
Okay.
But you can always, on vision, if you go out of network, you can always file it directly yourself and get reimbursed whatever they're allowed or not. Does
Okay.
that make sense a little bit?
It does. So that's my recommendation, is that the employee, if they want the vision, they pay for their vision, because we are offering, or the court is offering such a great
Medical plan.
Let the employee pay for their vision if that's what they choose to do, but I'd like to offer them the dual guardian plan. So they have those options.
Okay.
Is that good?
That's good, that's good, yes, ma'am.
Option, or two options for vision insurance under the Guardian. Is that
Yes.
okay, under the Guardian brand, they're optional to the employee that they,
For the employee to pay.
That they'll pay out of
One of the two options under the Guardian insurance plan.
Second.
Commissioner Samuels. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. That takes care of both, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you
Thank y'all
very
very
much.
much.
Thank y'all.